Hey everybody, welcome to Martinis with Scott, episode 50, here on March 23rd, 2020. Hope everybody had a great weekend and is getting through their self-isolation, quarantine, whatever stage you're in, of hunkering down on this crazy coronavirus that we have. We're going to talk about that a bit today, again, from the context of running a business, not necessarily from a personal or health perspective. And today's show is going to be primarily or entirely geared towards Canadians and small businesses, medium-sized businesses. Not so much the larger businesses have their own issues to deal with, but for smaller businesses in Canada, what government help is available to you? It seems to be a bit of a shit show. Nobody really knows what's going on. I'm questioning whether I'm even allowed to say that on my own show. I'm going to go with yes. So shit show, that's what we're going with here. Okay, let's talk about the government help. As I said, it's been chaos. It's been hard to find. There's millions of pieces of information flying at you every moment of the day on COVID-19, and as it relates to government programs and do this and don't do that. And we have to have some level of empathy and forgiveness for the governments and how they're screwing up, particularly in Canada. Because they're doing it on the fly. But let's just walk through some of this and we'll point out some things that I think are particularly stupid, but also what's available to you to help, if anything. So, like I said, they're making it on the fly. There's no forms available. There's no real concise summary other than grand, pronouncements from Trudeau. And one of those pronouncements is that it's been an $82 billion aid package, and $55 billion of that is all Canadian dollars, of course, is tax deferrals intended to help liquidity. And $27 billion, I should say only $27 billion for all of Canada is direct cash. And of that, I think that's fast accounting, fast and loose accounting. So for example, at least 10 billion, if not more, is loan programs, will be loan programs through Business Development Corporation, which is BDC in Canada, and Export Development Corporation, which is EDC in Canada. Both of those are crown corporations. In other words, they're owned by or funded by the government. They have specific mandates, lending out money to small businesses, and medium-sized businesses would be one of those mandates, but they're loans. They're not grants. It is a loan process. You have to pay it back. So really, it's just another liquidity deferral. So I don't think that it's being honest to say that that's direct payments. But regardless, so what do we know for businesses in Canada? Number one is going to be, or is already, a wage subsidy assistance program. And so the intent of this is that you keep your employees on the payroll, and the government's going to help you with some of their wages. And so it's eligible to small business employers with a credit for up to 10% of the pay for a 3-month period. So you take your employee, 3 months worth of gross pay, you can claim up to 10% of that number. So if you're paying somebody, say, $8,000 a month gross pay, let's make it $10,000 for round numbers. So you're $30,000 for that person. $3,000 is the limit of a credit that you could get for that employee. Except the maximum per employee is $1,375, so you don't get the $3,000. And per company, it's $25,000. And the way you get this is you adjust your withholding tax remittance. So you need to know that now. Kate, this is a reminder to you on all our companies, we ought to be taking that credit. And you just do it. There's no form. As far as I know, listen, I'm not your tax accountant, so you need to get advice on this. It's changing every day. But I'm going to tell you what I'm doing with our companies is we're going to take our credit. There's no form to fill out. CRA is going to deal with it later, Canada Revenue Agency, and you take your credit just by paying less on your withholding taxes. Is CRA going to come back and audit you and charge you interest and penalties? Probably they are, because that's the way CRA rolls. But that's the information we have so far, and that's what we'll be doing in our companies. What else does it tell me here? Once your subsidy is covered, you could reduce your current remittance. Yes, I already said that. So the intent here is to keep your employees on the payroll. But here's a question for you. That's what's happening at the federal government. That's what Justin Trudeau is claiming to do for you. Yet in the provinces, in Ontario today, Quebec today, or yesterday, they're just shutting down businesses entirely. So we own manufacturing companies, unless they're on the exempt list for critical services, we're going to have to shut those down tomorrow, which means we're going to have to lay all the people off. Now, I may not be doing that, but some of the other businesses, everybody else is going to lay all their people off, which means they won't be paid, which means this entire credit thing is more or less useless. That's putting out by the federal government. There's an example of a disconnect between what the federal government's claim they're doing for you and what is really going on on the ground. All right, number two, for businesses from the federal government is business credit available through, as I said before, EDC, Export Development Corporation, and BDC, Business Development Bank of Canada. And again, this is not grants. These are loans. And I'm going to tell you, my staff phoned both BDC and EDC on Friday to get ahead of this and find out what's going on. And nobody within BDC and EDC has any direct process that's been provided to them by the government. In other words, they don't know what's going on. And this is the exact same thing that happened in 2008 in Canada with the automotive crisis. You know, the whole world fell apart in 2008. Canada was very heavily into auto parts manufacturing, which completely died. GM went under, Chrysler went under, Ford didn't go under, but they, they held tight and stopped buying. And all of Ontario fell apart. And the government at the time put a bunch of money through BDC and EDC, but it took them 3 months or 6 months to get up to speed on even what to do with these funds, because they're lending institutions. EDC is an insurance company that also lends, but they're lending institutions. They don't have the staff, and also they're shut down. When we're calling these, when we're calling EDC and BDC, we're calling mobile numbers from people who are working at home, and God bless them, they're doing a great job, and they're trying to keep up, and they're doing everything they can. But there's no way this money's getting out the door very quickly. They don't have the resources, and they don't have a plan to deal with it. And also, because they're lenders, they have lending criteria. And the lending criteria is a business plan, financial statements, make your case, how you're going to pay us back. Now, maybe it'll be lax because, the government wants the money out, and that's all good. But you still have to have your business plan together. And if you need help on that, message me on the YouTube comments. Give us a call at Sinclair Range. Look up sinclairrange.com, and we'll provide you advice on how to put that together. I'll do it for free, just to help you out in this terrible time. So those are really the two programs by the Canadian federal government geared to helping businesses. One of them, as I said, is a credit to keep people on, even though you're shutting down your business and you're not going to keep people on. So that's not very helpful. The other one is lending to businesses, but why would they lend to you if you shut down anyways, which is what you have to do within the provinces. And even if you were open, it's going to be difficult logistically to get these things done. It could take a month. Where are you going to find a lawyer to paper your loan from BDC who's not already swamped in something else and working from home? It's not a very good plan, in my opinion. So let me give you an example. We're working on due diligence to acquire a company, a manufacturer in Ontario. I don't only deal in the manufacturing business, but that's what I'm talking about today for whatever reason. This company, I think I need to talk to them this afternoon, and I need to see the list of critical services tomorrow coming out of the province of Ontario, but I'm pretty sure they're going to be shut down. About 50 employees, as I recall, they're going to be laid off. They're going to be going for unemployment insurance, or in Canada, EI, employment insurance. The wages subsidy isn't going to help. We're talking to BDC and EDC, but that's not going to help anytime soon. And when it does, it's a loan, and this company's had a checkered history, which is why I'm buying them. They're a troubled company, and I love turning those things around. And that's what we do at Sinclair Range. And I just don't see how any of these programs are going to help this business at all. So that's what we have for businesses. Now let's talk about individuals. I think as a business owner and an entrepreneur, the best thing that you could be doing for your employees right now is helping them understand what is available for them as individuals, not from your business, but as individuals. If you could afford to pay $1,000 to a tax accountant to spend a few hours with your employees virtually, obviously, and provide them direct advice. What a gift that would be if you're going to lay these people off and they have to go get insurance. Anyways, that's what I think you could be doing to help your employees. What the government has done is they've shifted your tax payment and filing deadlines. So in Canada, you used to have to file on April 30th and you used to have to pay what was ever due on April 30th. You can now file up to June 1st and the payments move to August 31st. So there's been a deferral of your tax payment and the work that needs to be done. Obviously, they don't tell you this, but if you're due a refund, file your taxes now, right? You can file them as soon as you can file them January 1 if you want. That's obviously passed, but you could have filed them January 1. Get your refund as quickly as possible. You don't have to wait till the end. Quarterly installments on the personal side have also been delayed to August 31. That would be your Q1, Q2, your March, and your June payments. There's temporary income support for workers and parents. If you don't have paid sick leave, yet you're off, you're quarantined, you're forced to stay home to look after your children. Employment insurance, which is the social safety net in Canada, or part of it, the unemployment system. Excuse me. They're waiving the 1 week waiting time, and you don't need a medical certificate to go and get benefits. And if you don't have sick leave and you don't qualify for EI, there's ECB emergency care benefits up to $900 biweekly, and you can go look that up. They're talking about, or they've rolled out special one-time payments through GST credits, which would be $400 a person or $600 a couple to May 2020. It's estimated to help 12 million low-income families because it comes through a credit system and you have to be under an income threshold to qualify for that. Same for your increased Canada Child benefit, which is increased by $300 to May 2020. And all of this flows through, the common theme here is all of this flows through CRA and government services who themselves are shut down and do not have the resources. You will quickly find out to implement any of this in any reasonable fashion. Interest-free student loans for the next 6 months. So if you've got a student loan or you're applying for one, there won't be any interest for 6 months. That's easy to do, just don't pay it. And although not a government measure directly, Canadian banks to a large degree are waiving mortgage payments and giving other credit release for, I think, 6 months or for the near future. And there's been a push on from the government to these institutions to do that. So that's definitely helpful. The no interest on student loans and the Canadian banks voluntarily participating in something to defer payments is going to be a great help. And as I told you on a show last week, if you're a business and you have a term loan, just stop paying. Go to your banker, go up front and ask for a holiday. Ask for a principal holiday, and if you're in really bad shape, ask for an interest holiday. That's going to be more complicated, but the principal is almost a gimme. You'll get that, 99 times out of 100, more than 9 out of 10. All right, so that's what you have for the individuals. Similar to the business, it just seems complicated. I highly doubt the efficacy of the delivery of this. The call centers are going to be a disaster. Nothing's going to work. Now, what should they have done? Canada has a population of 35 million people. I think it's 37 million as of January 2020, but I use 35 for round numbers. They announced $82 billion in aid. That would be roughly $2,300 for every man, woman, and child in Canada. $2,300. I have a household of 3 sitting here in the country. Okay. So if I didn't have any bills to pay, if I don't have to pay my mortgage, I'm going to pay my mortgage because I can, but I don't have to, right? I can get holidays on all sorts of expenses. I'm not traveling to work. All I have to buy is food, basically my utilities, which, by the way, they should be giving you, the provinces should be crediting on utilities. I haven't seen any announcements on that yet, but look out for it. Heat and hydro, electricity, all of that should be the natural gas. We'd like to see some breaks on that from the provincial governments. But I have a family of 3. That's $7,000 in benefits. If I had no other expenses other than my food, how long could we live on $7,000? Well, a really long time. A really long time. I need toilet paper and I need food, and that's about it, right? And I need martinis, so I could do vodka, so I could do martinis with Scott. Although I'm on coffee because this is a day show. Cheers. So, why is the Canadian government making this so damn complicated? Why don't they just send you a check, every man, woman, and child, every family, $2,300 a head? That's $82 billion, and we'd all be fine. And you know what? If we're not fine 3 months from now, do it again, right? That's what they're talking about in the U.S. This is horrible for business. But if you think about it and you're a leader and you just shut down, cut your expenses if you have to, don't pay people if you have to, and do the things that we talked about in managing your cash flow last week, this becomes not a business issue, but a personal issue. The personal issue, can you afford to eat and feed your kids and pay your rent? By the way, if your landlord is not paying their mortgage, but they're collecting your rent, how great is that, right? There ought to be a forced, if they don't have to pay their mortgage, they ought to not be able to collect their rent on their income property. A little aside, if I can buy food and I don't have to pay anything else, more or less, then I could last a long time. And that's what this issue is. And your laid off employees can last a long time if they each had a check in their pocket. So why did the Canadian government not do that? I can tell you exactly why. I mean, I'm not mind reading. I'm not sitting there at the Liberal caucus trying to figure this out. But clearly, everything they did was to maintain a progressive nature. We don't want to give money to the rich. God forbid you send a $2,300 check to somebody like me, which is so stupid because, yeah, I don't need your $2,300 and maybe I wouldn't spend it because, I don't need to spend it, but you could just send it to me and then make me pay it back in taxes on my next tax return, right? You can put a one-time surcharge or some other mechanism through the tax scheme that if you're over a certain income level, you get that $2,300 back. And that way, you're not screwing around working through these government bodies that are going to be ineffective. You just get the money out to the people. You get them out to it now. You get confidence back in the system. You get liquidity. It's easy peasy, and it doesn't offend anybody. It's the right thing to do, and Justin Trudeau has screwed that up, in my opinion. But you really can't be too harsh on him, as I started from the beginning, because this is a complicated situation. It's fast moving, but my God, just send people a check. That's what they need. All right. What should you be doing as a business? We talked about this last week. I'll continue on this week. Just the most important thing is to remember that this is not all on you. If you're an entrepreneur, if you're a business owner, if you're a president, CEO, you can't burden this responsibility alone. You have to spread the pain. You need to stop paying people. You need to hoard cash. You need to hunker down, share the pain, make the tough decisions. Do not hang out until you can't hang out anymore. Don't die the death of 1,000 cuts. Like, okay, maybe we can make it till Thursday. Hey, I made it till Thursday. Maybe we can make it till Monday. Hey, maybe I can make it till Tuesday. Nope, I didn't make it till Tuesday. I died Monday. Don't do that. Get in front of this. Be a leader. If you think you're going to have to shut down, then shut it down now. Lay the people off. Hoard your cash because you need a war chest to restart and to fight whatever's coming. And to drain every last penny out of your system is by far the biggest mistake that you can be making. Two other points you could be doing now in a business: avoid fraud. What do I mean, avoid fraud? This is so much chaos in government programs, in banking systems, in suppliers. I heard a story the other day. I won't drop any names, but a clerk, a friend of a friend, or a relative of a friend, a clerk at a major Canadian bank last week alone issued or processed $30 million of stop payments on checks. One clerk in one bank, 1 week. Grossly inflated from what this person would do on a regular basis. People are stopping payments. There's chaos in the system. And when that's happening, there's fraud. You're hurting. You need cash. People send you a phishing email and they're saying, hey, click here, you can get that. and you think, oh, great, here's something that's going to help me. Beware of these things. It's rampant right now. It's going to be more of a problem. And the last thing that I want to comment on today, I already talked about it before earlier, is I think the best thing you could be doing for your employees right now is to help them understand what's personally available to them, and talk to your member of parliament. Call up your member of parliament and tell them what you really need is a check. You don't need all this crap. That's not going to work. You need a check. It's not too late. They can do it in addition. I think we've announced 1% of GDP in Canada. The US is talking about 15% of GDP. France is talking about packages of 3% of GDP. This is just a start for Canada. Let's get it right. I have little hope that Trudeau will do that, but let's hope that he does. And the right thing to do is to send out checks. Thank you for listening. This has been Martinis with Scott. We are a show about winning at business, geared towards managers, executives, investors, entrepreneurs. Take a look at our content on YouTube. Please subscribe. We're also on Apple Podcasts and Spotify. Talk to you tomorrow.